There is a mental health condition where a caregiver deliberately fabricates or exaggerates or induces medical symptoms on another person under their care. And typically this person is usually a child. And they do this to gain attention or sympathy from the healthcare team. This condition is known as Munchausen Syndrome by proxy. So Munchausen Syndrome by proxy is a rare but very serious mental illness, and it typically involves a primary caregiver, most often a mother, who seeks attention and sympathy by representing false or exaggerated medical symptoms in the child that is under their care. And unlike other mental health conditions that are driven by a desire to get material gain, those affected by Munchausen crave the emotional validation that comes from the medical attention that their child receives. And this is always such a tricky situation because the caregiver often appears warm and loving and very deeply concerned. But in reality, they're masking all of that behind this facade of lies and very calculated manipulation of the child's health. And Munchausen works in a variety of different ways. The caregiver or the mother might simply lie about the symptoms, or even go to extreme lengths by tampering with laboratory samples or falsifying medical records in order to deliberately induce the symptoms. And this can be through things like poisoning, suffocation, or even starving the child. In many cases, the child's conditions sometimes get inexplicably worse at home, only to improve when they're in a controlled environment like a hospital. And these discrepancies are always the red flags that hospitals and healthcare workers look for when they suspect that this could be something that is happening. There are also certain characteristics that can help healthcare workers to alert them to the possibility that somebody is suffering from Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And those are the fact that the caregiver is very often usually the mother and might even be a healthcare professional. And they're usually overly friendly with medical staff and sometimes a little bit too friendly. And there's also a lot of multiple hospitalizations with very strange, inconsistent symptoms. But the most important thing that we look out for is if the symptoms improve in the hospital only to get worse when they get back home. So what causes somebody to get Munchausen syndrome? The exact origins are really not known. It is suspected that it can be a combination of psychological and biological factors such as a history of abuse or neglect on the part of the caregiver or the mother. It can also be due to an early loss of a parent that can contribute to the development of this disorder. And sometimes additional stressors like marital problems can also act as triggers. And because it's not easy to accuse a mother of deliberately harming her own child, diagnosing this disease is incredibly hard because doctors must first rule out any actual genuine medical conditions before starting a thorough investigation if this is suspected. And while there is no way to treat this, usually the child's safety is the top priority, and in many cases, intervention can involve removing that child from this harmful environment. And for caregivers, therapy is usually the best form of treatment that is advised. Munchausen syndrome by proxy remains one of the most challenging and insidious forms of abuse, and is a stark reminder that mental health comes in different shapes and forms, and usually you just cannot tell. If you found this video helpful or have had any experience with Munchausen syndrome by proxy, drop a comment and subscribe on more tips on how to stay healthy.